For those who are new here, we always do MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Breakout Player of the Year, and finally Coach of the Year. This week, again, just like we did the predictions for the NFC South, we will obviously do the superlatives for the NFC South.
Absolutely.
Here we go. Start with MVP. Derek Carr, but I think this is tough because the term valuable, right? Who is going to impact winning more? Like, I think there's better players. Like, do I think Mike Evans is a better player? Yes. Do I think Chris Olave could be very dynamic at receiver? Absolutely. Do I think Drake London, Kyle Pitts, those are all very, very good options, but I don't think any of them impact winning as much as Derek Carr is going to.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Jameis is a very fine NFL quarterback. He just turns the ball over too much. So just that one switch alone is going to be worth a couple wins. That's the definition of value. I think his fourth quarter comeback ability that he has shown throughout his career is going to be wildly valuable as well. So I think Derek Carr is the most valuable player in the division in terms of producing wins and being productive for a team that needs it.
Yeah, I think for this category and what we've talked about in previous weeks, what I try to do before we name our MVP is imagine that team without him. Imagine him with an 8-week long injury. Just something that's going to take him out of the lineup. What does that team look like? How many games do they win?
2-6, 3-5, maybe.
Exactly. There's not another player on any of these other teams, of these other three teams, that I can honestly say if they were removed, it would be as catastrophic as if Derek Carr was not the quarterback for the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, like, think of so that brings to Offensive Player of the Year Mike Evans. Like, if Mike Evans isn't on the Buccaneers, we view them as a 6-win team. I don't view them as like a 2-win team without Mike Evans. They're maybe even the same amount of wins, 6, maybe 5 at the worst. But either way, Offensive Player of the Year Mike Evans, because I do think he is dynamic. He's a vertical threat down the field, big, strong. It was like his 8th or 9th year in the league. He's at 1,000 yards every year. It's like him and Jerry Rice, the only two to do that. Like, he is a special, consistent receiver. I don't view him in the number one class with like a Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson.
He's not there, no.
I think he's at probably the low end of like a tier 2 with like A.J. Brown, like that kind of tier, somewhere around 10 to 12 in the league. Just the definition of consistent. I do worry with Baker now being his quarterback, or Trask or Wolford. Probably Baker. That could be a problem, but I think he'll probably still get 1,100, 1,200 yards, 8 or 9 touchdowns, and it'll almost be the most impressive year of his career.
Yeah, but like we said before we started this, there's just really not all that much talent. I mean, Mike Evans is a fine receiver, and I think he's going to be the best of the division offensively. But it's not like he's like top of the league.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, it's not like a standout, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson type player. So.
Exactly.
All right, Defensive Player of the Year. We'll go back to the Saints here for Cam Jordan. First of all, I think he's the best pass rusher in the division. Probably the player with the most quote-unquote prestige in the division, right? Like, Cam Jordan's been around the league. He's been a veteran that's 12 to 15 sacks almost every year.
Yep.
He'll anchor that defense. Not only that, but I think off-the-field leadership has to matter at some point. I don't think it's everything, right? Especially Defensive Player of the Year, it's like, do you have talent? Are you producing, right? MVP is more like where leadership and stuff comes in. But I do think it's something with Cam Jordan. He's been like Walter Player, Man of the Year nominee for like so many years now. Good all-around guy, good leader, good pass rusher. And I do think without a great secondary, right? Marshawn Lattimore's good, not great. Without a really good number 2 as well, like they need a pass rush. And so I think, again, the value he brings at the Defensive Player of the Year spot, Cam Jordan, edge rusher for the Saints.
Yeah, 100% agree. And we've seen that position take off with importance, especially of late. We've seen teams that don't have a great secondary. It's teams that really struggle for pass protection. When you have a guy that can go get the quarterback and put a lot of pressure on that offensive line, on that quarterback, that really wears on a team over the length of a game.
Yeah.
I mean, if your quarterback's getting hit, it's not pretty.
Not to mention, like, this division doesn't have great quarterbacks, so if you can get to a bad quarterback, all quarterbacks under pressure are not as good, but especially, like, average to below average quarterbacks, if you can put pressure on them, especially with 2 young guys like a Ritter and like a Bryce Young, if you can get pressure on those are almost guaranteed wins. If you can make the rookie or the young guy uncomfortable, or Baker for that sense. Baker does not move as well as he thinks he does. So. And
I was going to say, like, yes, the young guy, but also the over-cocky veteran that thinks he's 100% better than everybody else that just simply is not. You hit him a couple times and get him all in his head. We know how that turns out. We've seen it plenty.
Big Ben's last game at Heinz Field.
Oh, yeah.
At the time, Heinz Field. Still going to call it Heinz Field. Sorry, not sorry. All right, Breakout Player of the Year. Now, this is a rookie, so I guess I don't know if that technically his breakout player, but he's gonna burst onto the scene.
We've
so
had a
that's
rookie or two so
have
far.
we?
Yeah.
Cool, awesome. Bijan Robinson, running back for the Atlanta Falcons. Look, again, I don't think he was great value at the pick at 6. I think they had other needs, but there was no denying that he was going to be wildly productive, right? He was going to be the focal point of the offense. He's going to be a Christian McCaffrey type where he could go for 100 and 100, right? 1,000 and 1,000, right?
Yeah.
1,000 rushing and 1,000 receiving yards. Like, he could be that good. Again, focal point of the offense with a younger quarterback like a Desmond Ridder. He's going to be critical in the offense, both on the ground and through the air. So, yeah, Bijan Robinson probably will be the best back in the division, and that's the division with Alvin Kamara. So.
Yeah, he's just the Swiss Army knife. I mean, and like you said, especially with the young quarterback, having the safe check down that's really good, a really good receiving back is huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
He does remind me actually a lot of Alvin Kamara, kind of like a Dalvin Cook, Kamara, almost like a bigger Austin Eckler in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Like dual threat, good route runner, but still physical enough to run between the tackles like I do think
sure.
like a Dalvin Cook is. So.
Yeah.
All right, Coach of the Year, Arthur Smith. Yeah, I think what they're going to be able to do, I think he's going to get Desmond Ridder to 8 or 9 wins. So if he can get him above 500, I think that is a coaching feat. I love what he does with the run game. He's very, very clever. Defense is not great, but improving. Again, he's an offensive coach, so I don't put a ton of that on him. So if he can do what we think he'll be able to do with Desmond Ridder in that offensive, weapons room, which is very young, if he can take all that youth and make them a fringe playoff team, I think that's a great coaching job, Arthur Smith. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah. And especially in, I guess, this division, it's not going to be that hard to impress. I don't know. I just don't see it being that difficult for... I mean, these teams will make it difficult because they're not that great.
Well, Frank Reich, to me, first of all, I don't think they're going to be a very good team, so it's very hard for me to give him Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
And we have seen no history of him being able to win consistently. He had a couple good years in Indy, but nothing sustainable. And then same thing, Todd Bowles and Dennis Allen, both defensive guys, and have pretty stark losing records. So, Arthur Smith.
Process of elimination, if you will.
Honestly, yeah, I do think it'll be impressive though if he can get them to a fringe playoff team with the youth that's in that room and then Desmond Ridder. So.
I agree. Yeah, run it back through.
All right, MVP Derek Carr, Offensive Player of the Year Mike Evans, Defensive Player of the Year Cam Jordan, Breakout Player of the Year Bijan Robinson, the rookie in Atlanta, and then Coach of the Year Arthur Smith for the NFC South.
Sounds good. Guys, you're going to want to stick around in the third